Hi, that is David Bishu.
And that is Anders Hanola.
We are light nerds and passionate about light and shadows. Lightbybishu.com is the home of sharing knowledge, videos, live events, workshop, and much, much more.
After many years of trying different concepts, we have finally found a unique way to help you to understand how light really works, so you can upskill with a smile.
Lightbybishu.com has 5 sections with very different types of content. You're just about to see one full episode from one of the 5 sections.
So for you to really understand what and how we are doing this, here is an episode from the behind the scenes section. This is where we will dissect our images and share with you in detail how they were created. We hope you enjoy this. Hi. Behind the scenes is all about the creative process behind the images from the archive. And I will now pretend the selection of this episode's image is totally random by starting the Wheel of Fortune. Aha! The Hollywood group shot. This is actually the most complex and challenging image I've ever done. Let me bring out my pointers so I can point out the important things in this image. I was asked, do you want to do the cover of the century for a magazine? The title would be The Nordic Hollywood Stars. So, did I want to do this job? Yes, of course. Would you turn down the offer when you got aware of that you had to shoot them one by one and then Photoshop it all into a realistic group shot? Would you turn down the offer when you realized that the people were spread out all over the world, so you needed to do a lot of traveling? But of course not, you still want to do it. The client also wanted unique portraits for interviews inside the magazine, and you would say no problem at all. But what if your clients say they have no budget? No budget for traveling, hotels, assistants, makeup, styling. Would you still do it? A sane person would say that that is not an offer. That is just a crazy idea. But we aren't sane people. We, photographers. When the vision starts to take form, there is no turning back. Photographers solve problems. And did you know that the word photographer in ancient Greek means problem solver? No, I'm just kidding, but it should. And as you can see, after tons of blood, sweat and tears, I delivered the image 30 minutes before deadline. Well, in this case, I had a little help from the owner of the magazine, one of the biggest hotel chains in the world. And they worked in cooperation with one of the biggest airline companies in the world, so they of course wanted this cover of the century to happen. So the budget problem got solved. On the cover, there is a total of 17 celebrities. We have people like Stellan Skarsgård, Susanne Bier, Alicia Vikander, Isabella Scorupco, Ola Rapace, David Dencik, and so on and so on. A lot of Swedish and Scandinavian, not Swedish, but Scandinavian celebrities. A lot of Swedes, but you have Finland, you have Denmark, you have Norway there too. But most Swedes, because in Sweden we produce so many great actors, like me. A few of them were shot here in Sweden, in my studio, where I have all the gear I want. And there is makeup artists, stylists, assistants, everything starts with an S, and other hangarounds. But most of the pictures were done quick and dirty in some shady corner of the world, like the shoot with the Danish director Susanne Bier. yet another boring conference room, this time in Copenhagen. I got a few minutes with her and then she was off. I often get the question if I know in advance how to pose and where to place them to fit the group composition. But since I never knew who was the next to shoot, it was totally impossible to plan ahead, and the solution was to try to get them all in 3 different heights: sitting, standing, and climbing up to something. I always measured my distance to be exactly 8 meters, because that's how far away I would have been if I could shoot the group for real. But since I was so far away, I couldn't communicate without screaming, "Hello! Could you please bend your knees? Sorry? Yeah, bend your your knees. Great, thank you. Let's take a picture." So I used a remote trigger and stood quite close while shooting and directing. The background image is a story of how I broke my own rule. When lighting for any image, and especially a composite image like this, you have to analyze the ambient light in the background to know how you can light your foreground person or people or group or whatever. Otherwise, the ambient light and your light won't match, and that will look like shit. In this case, I didn't have any background image to analyze, but I needed to start the shooting of people anyway. I knew that I wanted some people to have a kicker light to enhance the illusion that they were lit by something. I knew that I wanted some people to have a kicker light to enhance the illusion that they were lit by something from the background, which I didn't have. So, I borrowed this beautiful old film lamp that could serve as a kicker generator illusion in the background, in case I wouldn't find a real background with a real natural light source. And since I didn't know who were supposed to have the kicker or not, I randomly triggered the kicker light, so almost every single one of these got images both with and without the kicker. And the key light was a big umbrella, slightly feathered to keep the background dark. I know that many of you always fill the shadow side, but this was supposed to be a big group shot. I needed the shadow side to be quite dark, because dark shadows give the illusion of big space. And a big space is crucial to fit a big group of people. I don't know how clever it was to put these ones in a cup like this. So all the shadow sides are very dark. Because a dark shadow gives the illusion of a big space. And a big space is quite crucial if you want to fit in a big group of people. I promise you, otherwise it will look really artificial if the shadows is too bright. Dark shadows, big space. Bright shadows, small space. Space, space, out of space. After shooting maybe 10 people on different locations, I still hadn't found any good background. But when I got to Los Angeles to shoot some of them who lived in Hollywood, I stumbled upon the background of my dreams. The perfect background. It was like, whoa, hello. The sun was just about to set behind the rooftop. The architecture and the colors and the contrasts were perfect. The only problem was that I only had my long 135mm lens with me, and I was way too close, so this lens was so wrong. But the sun would set just within a few seconds, so what to do? I sprayed stitched them together, and I got the background in way more resolution than I ever would need, but still I got the background. The Isabella Scorupco shoot was done there in Los Angeles. It was in a garage. I had a bunch of Canon speedlights and a borrowed battery flash that manually took care of the kicker. This was way before the Profoto Air remote days, so I used speedlights both as lights and as dedicated slave triggers. Today, this would have been so easy with a couple of B10s. post-processing was quite straightforward, and thanks to the uniform lighting and different height poses, the composite image was quite easy to put together. Anyhow, the cover turned out okay under the circumstances, and I think the prestigious Swedish Film Institute has a large version of it on the walls, and I have my own copy over my living room sofa. Speaking of sofa, this is so far I will go with this image. So let me say thank you, goodbye, see you, and don't forget, think outside the softbox.